Hello, my name is Tony King. I'm a photographer, and in today's video, I want to go over this past calendar year of 2025 in my photography, looking over some achievements and how I achieved those and how my photography as a whole changed. If you're returning to my channel, you'll probably have seen a huge growth in my photography this year. And if you're new here, well, I hope that, something that you take from this video can show you how you can achieve certain things that I might have this year. And also you might learn a little bit about me and want to stick around by the end of it. So let's get into it. I've been a photographer for 3 years, started in 2022 and 2025 now, my third year has been by far the best year in my photography. When I started photography, I didn't really have concrete goals. I just kind of wanted to express myself, create art, and it was kind of a therapy for me, and it still is. But the more I've gotten serious about it, the more I've had specific targets. And at the start of 2025, I made some targets and I achieved some of those. I had some longer term goals that I managed to achieve this year, and then I had some misses. So of course, the main goal in photography, and for me anyway, as an artist, is to just improve my craft. And I think this year I made some pretty big strides in the quality of my work. And how did I do that? Well, I talk about a lot of those methods on my channel, but to sum it all up, practicing and practicing and practicing, setting myself in different environments, trying to create art always is something that's very good. Feeling more comfortable with my gear by again, practicing with it, but also just using it in those different environments to really push it to its full limit. This year, I also upgraded my gear for most of my work so that I could, print more. And I found that when you print your images, you can observe them in a different way and learn from them in a different way as well. But overall, with my work, I also felt much more confident. And that confidence came from just a little bit of experience in the past, but also putting myself out there a little bit more, whether that was on social media, on YouTube, or in person at photo walks, and being able to take pictures of people more. I find that is something a little bit more interesting to me, not necessarily the most recognizable style of like street photography, but something akin to that, something I'd like to call more of a documentary style of photography. But gaining that comfort was a big thing that also came from that practice. So overall, the main method to improve is practice and setting these goals in different environments and trying to achieve things in maybe in darker lighting or just natural lighting or only small objects or only in one direction, whatever it might be. Practicing different niches and things of this nature definitely helped me improve my craft overall. My main goal, though, at the start of 2025, outside of just improving my craft, was to be exhibited at least once. I'd started submitting to exhibitions at the end of 2024 and gotten rejected. Well, at the end, halfway through, I'd gotten rejected several times. And so I figured, hey, I'm getting a little bit better as I go, but it would be nice to maybe do it once. And I figured maybe towards the end of the year, I would have gotten good enough, I suppose, that I would have been selected for an exhibition. And come May, I had submitted to maybe 4 or 5 only, probably. I mean, I didn't overdo it, but I'd been rejected to all of them. And finally, though, towards the end of May, I got admitted to one, and then suddenly to another. Finally, in the whole year, I was exhibited 6 times. One of those was actually a pretty competitive, prestigious showing as well, which I was super pleased with and quite surprised that I got into. But I think one thing I definitely learned there is perseverance and a couple of different strategies to actually get exhibited. And these were all exhibitions through the same group, but these elements kind of apply to all sorts of exhibitions where it is about submitting a certain number of photos that can work together. I found that even though I submitted 4 images and only one got picked, I think my understanding was that when all the 4 images kind of were a little bit more cohesive as a unit, that upped my chances. Really being able to write a decent artist statement, and I changed it over and over again. But, to create an artist statement, I can't even tell you good advice on that, but I can say that my first artist statement, I didn't know even what that meant, and I wrote a poem, and it was terrible. So let's forget about that. But crafting an artist statement and a bio that really speaks to your style. And even in doing that, I had to really look back and what is my style and how do I articulate that in, a paragraph that's not just I like documentary style photos, or what am I actually trying to do with the light, with the composition, what sticks out to me when I'm actually taking these photos. So that is something that helped me overall, but also up my chances in these exhibitions as well. Also, researching the juror a little bit, you can see what kind of styles they tend to favor. And of course, reading into the description of whatever exhibition. At first I was submitting to everything, and then but some of them I didn't really have like the right style of work for. So, really making sure that when you're making a submission, you are catering it towards that particular exhibition. So I was very, very pleased that I was able to be exhibited 6 times. More successful photographers are exhibited way more and at more prestigious venues and events, but this is a great start for me. So I was super, super proud of myself for that this year, and I overachieved on that particular goal. On the flip side, one of my big misses is that I didn't sell a single print. I've advertised myself not as much as I probably could have that I do sell prints or want to sell prints, and none of the works that were exhibited sold, and nothing off my Instagram or YouTube or anything sold. So that's a miss. It wasn't like a huge achievement I wanted to do, but something that I definitely aspire to do and would love to do. I love the thought of my work being displayed in somebody's home or whatever it might be. So that, looking forward, maybe I can advertise the printing side a little bit more and figuring out how to do that better. And maybe that's a goal that I can look forward to in 2026 or 2027. Moving on to an achievement on a social basis was posting daily on Instagram for the entire year. That was pretty tiring, and it took a lot of dedication, and I would never undersell that. Doing something on a daily basis, even something that you can kind of schedule in advance and like kind of turn your brain off and do, it does take dedication and pushing through it, and you don't want to skip a day, you don't want to cheat yourself. So that's something in principle that I think is very important as a life skill to have achieved, and it didn't really garner like this huge amount of success for me. So, but I still don't want to call it a miss, because I'm proud of myself for having stuck to something for 365 days in a row and, not cheating myself on that. And I was hoping that social media would allow me to have an easier time getting exhibited, but also getting my first paid gigs. And indirectly, it sort of worked. I got my first paid gig was behind the scenes photo shoot on a film set, and I made a video talking about it, and now I've gone back and shot for them again, and it was a great experience, and I'm very happy that I was able to do that and actually earn, like not a lot, but a little bit of money off of photography. And then that led to, shooting some engagement shoots and portrait shoots for some of my connections that I have and friends and my community. So I had my first paid gigs this year. I'd never earned money off photography. I had really only burned it. So to be able to do that was a good achievement, and something that I definitely hope to do even more. I think I only had like 6 or 7 gigs with photography this year, and one video or tour video. So, next year, hopefully I can do that more and more and more. And that would be a good achievement to look forward to again. And in that realm, I had to do portrait shoots. I had to do engagement shoots. I did behind the scenes shoots, and these are a couple of different niches. And in the meantime, outside of those paid gigs, I was doing sports photography, wildlife photography, I tried astrophotography on top of my regular kind of nature landscape / street documentary style photos that I really tend to do. So really trying so many different niches was a big achievement for me that I was really hoping to do. And I would encourage any artist / photographer, I guess mainly, to not just try and stick to one thing, because there are things, even if that street documentary style, I'd say, is my main focus, my main target. There are plenty of things that I can learn from wildlife, like timing and framing and being quick with this, or from nature, noticing details and creating compositions with kind of a variety of different objects in the way. Those are things that translate into how I can take those photos that I really target. So any type of art form, whether it's painting and drawing and watercolor or printmaking or glass art, whatever it might be, there's something that you can learn for each one from each one. So I would definitely encourage that. And for me, that was a good achievement for me, something I was definitely targeting and have been targeting for the last 3 years of my photography career. And on the note of like what I do with my photography career is mostly sharing my work here on YouTube. And I was very consistent on YouTube this year, and I hope to be the following year as well, the coming year as well. But what I really share is my body of work in these photo album videos. And at the end of 2024, I had finally reached 100 videos, 100 photo albums. And it took me a while to get there. There were several months where I did zero, several months where I did a lot, but then just fell off right after. And this year I wanted to set myself a target of doing at least 4 photo albums every single month. And I failed one of those months. I started really slow. I did 4, but then I did well until October, right after my biggest, most prolific time in photography of 2025. And then I only did 2 photo albums in the month of October, and that was a kind of a big failing for me. So that's something that I definitely, the 4 photo albums a month is definitely something I want to keep up in 2026. Something that I definitely aspire to do and maintain that consistency is going to only help me improve and better my craft. So that is extremely important to me. But in the year of 2025, I posted over 100 photo albums, which is a great achievement considering that it took me the first 2022, 2023, 2024 just to get to 100. So that was a pretty awesome achievement for me to have been able to do that all in one year. It showed that I've really jumped into this craft, done more and more and more, and hopefully the general quality is better overall, but it really shows to me that I'm dedicating myself to this, and it's a hobby. It's something that I aspire to in an artistic sense and like an artistic execution sense. So it's not like my career, but it's my main hobby, and it's something that I do want to be able to display that I am working really hard at it. And I think that's kind of a statistic, let's say, that kind of just displays that. And I think probably my biggest achievement out of all of those this year was creating my first zine. I've made a video talking about it. I've tried to promote it a little bit. And when in that video, I talked about how when I was younger, I would always write things and want to publish it. And I went into more detail about that in that video, but creating something that I could share and like really have as a tangible physical copy and sell it and put it out there as like a cohesive kind of creation I made that's physical, tangible. That was my first zine. And I made a certain number of copies and I sold at this point almost every single one. So that's a big achievement as well, that I get them all sold. But primarily that this achievement is to have created this first zine and to be something that I'm actually very happy with. So the zine aspect is something that I thought I wasn't going to be able to do until like 2027, 2028. I just felt like my trajectory was going a lot slower than it ended up being this year. And I think that's because I wasn't as dedicated or as kind of, I wasn't improving at the same rate as I did this year in the previous years. But this goes to show that at the start of a year, if we're doing this metric by year, because you don't really have to, but it works for this, that if you really start dedicating yourself to something, that you can improve exponentially at different rates than you ever thought possible. So I'm very glad that I made it that far. And honestly, all these achievements are superseding anything that I thought I was going to be able to do. Don't know how long that was like super overexposed for. Anyway, so creating that zine really was a huge, major achievement for me that, I didn't think I was going to be able to achieve for several years, down the line. So this year I overachieved greatly what I thought was possible. And I think that can be kind of overwhelming in a way, because now I'm like, well, like, what the hell am I going to do next year? Like, there's no way I can do that next year. There's like, my goal this year was to get exhibited once. Like, what am I supposed to do now? Say if I don't get exhibited 7 or 10 times next year, I'm a failure because I got 6 this year. No, I don't think so. Or is it like I need to get like double the paid gigs? I need to do this, that, and the third, create 2 zines. No, like, I think it feels overwhelming at first, but then I thought back, like I set myself up to a certain level here, and now my goal is to just kind of maintain the quality of my work, and I think that is what allowed me to achieve those goals. So I wasn't able to get exhibited if my work wasn't good enough. I wasn't able to create that zine if I didn't feel like I had created enough good work that could make it into a zine or whatever it might be. So my goal is should be to really just maintain the quality of work that I'm creating, and hopefully at the rate that I'm creating it, if not better, obviously. I mean, whatever works, right? So I'll make a video talking about my 2026 goals. I'll come up with some more tangible targets, but overall, I'm super pleased with the year of 2025. Hopefully I've talked a little bit about how I achieved those goals, and maybe I simplified it down, but I really do think maybe it feels like I'm kind of dumbed everything down to like just dedicate yourself, blah, blah. But I mean, honestly, it kind of is that simple. Just, challenging yourself and dedicating yourself and taking it seriously is what worked for me personally. So overall, really great year for photography for me. And I really appreciate all the support I've gotten on YouTube and on Instagram, and from friends and family, and from the local community that I'm involved in that have supported my work, bought zines, and this, anything involved that was just really awesome. So this is something that has brought me a lot of joy, and that's the most important part. Hopefully you'll subscribe to my channel and follow along for my goals next year, for how I can improve and see how, 2026 will match up to 2025. I hope you do follow me there, and we'll hopefully be able to share more of my journey, more of what I'm doing to improve my craft. And that's my goal. If I can get better and also help people get better at the same time, that is a major life goal. So without further ado, subscribe to my channel, stick around for 2026. Thank you for a great 2025. I'll see you next year.